So John, you see the world on a trajectory that seems unsustainable and unhealthy. And for old guys like you and me, we might make it to the finish line. But the younger people are the ones that will inherit this off-course spaceship called planet Earth. What advice would you give to young people? How can they join you? How can they help define that healthy trajectory that we all want to be on? How can they invest themselves? What kind of things should they study?
These are great questions. I actually am I'm very hopeful because the young people I talk to about this totally get it. They are not trapped in the paradigm of growth forever, material well-being as a source to our happiness, and they're incredibly tuned into the ecological crisis in a way that our generation simply is not. And I think it's affecting our kids' generation very profoundly, and not always in a good way. I just heard the other day something like 10% of kids in college suffer from all kinds of psychological despair, and so I think the culture that we've created is affecting our kids, and yet at the same time, I think they are in many ways light years ahead of us old folks in terms of, at a very intuitive level, gut instinct level, understanding this. And so when I go and speak with college students and graduate students, they look at me like, duh. They don't look at me like I'm here with some radical new idea. They look at me like, duh. So I think it's one reason to be hopeful is that our kids are into this. And so to answer your question, what should they study? System science. We need to understand how systems work. And the principal system that works sustainably to study is called the biosphere. So I tell my kids it's important to study biology and ecology, even if you're not interested in studying and working in that field. It doesn't mean you need to be a doctor. If you want to work in finance, if you want to work in business, understand ecology.
Yeah, we see people like Andy Haldane at the Bank of England
Yeah,
using biological methods to understand propagation in the financial system. So there are great analogies and intellectual arbitrage across the sciences.
Yeah, and there's plenty of trading strategies now running on nonlinear algorithms that are essentially complexity science. Yeah. The key is to connect this idea not just to financial systems, but to the real economy and the real biosphere to see that all as one system.
I guess in response to your thinking about young people, I would issue a challenge to them.
Okay.
It may be the answer that there is a problem is duh, but they haven't got the solution yet.
Well, I don't think any of us have the solutions.
No, none of us do,
Yeah,
but it's not a time for complacency.
Not a time at all.
It's time to dig in and transform this political economic environment.
Yeah, well, I've never worked as hard as my life as I do on Capital Institute right now, so I couldn't agree more. So.
Well, hopefully society will realize a big bonus from your efforts.
Well, we'll see, we'll see. Yours as well. I think great things going on at INET. It's very exciting.